Hi there everyone, and welcome to Paper Wishes Weekly Webisodes. I'm Sara Newman, and I'm so happy you're joining me for this episode of Saturday with Sara. Today we have a gorgeous collection from our friends at Stamperia called Brocante Antiques. There are pattern papers, there are 2 sets of rub-ons, and a package of die-cut chipboard elements, all with a really sweet, nostalgic look. So I'm going to move aside the chipboard and also the rub-ons, and we can take a closer look at our 8x8 paper pack. This contains 10 double-sided sheets, and as I'm flipping through here, I think you can see the beautiful designs, lots of kind of faux fabric effects in here. You'll have some repeating images like the Tiffany lamps and the teacups and the roses. But this is the style that we know and love from Stamperia, which is just beautifully collaged, gorgeous color palette, and really easy to use patterned papers. Now, also included in the set will be some cutouts. So as you can see on this side, you've got some elements that you could use as card focals or for the inside of your card. On the other side, those same shapes have just a border and some minimal artwork on there, so you can add in your own personalization. Here are some tags that are easy to cut out. The other side is this gorgeous design. And then we have some fussy cut elements on the inside back of the set. And there are also some elements here on the inside front that can be cut out and put to use. So there's a lot going on in our paper pack. Now, also included in the collection today, we've got 2 rub-on sets here. So we've got the teddy bears and we've got teacups. And these are so easy to use. In fact, there are instructions on the back of each package, but I will, of course, show you how to apply the rub-ons. They're super simple to do. And then for our die-cut chipboard pieces, well, there are 35 pieces in that set, so I've put them onto 2 sets of cardstock so that you can see the designs. Now you've got lots of elements that are perfectly sized for your card focal. You also have some smaller pieces in here too, which can make great accents. Now you can layer these up, you can do lots of different effects to create a perfect card focal element or something for the inside of your card. Of course, all of these elements are designed to coordinate beautifully together. And I have to say, they have been a lot of fun to work with. I'm really looking forward to sharing some creative possibilities with you. I'm really glad you're here today. Come play with us. I love the bendy card design, and I thought it would be a really fun way to use the papers and die cuts from today's collection. So you can see here, I've got my dimensional card, lots of beautiful pattern papers, lots of chipboard elements, and a really fun dazzle sentiment too. So the card is a really easy one to put together using a cutting die. So let's take a look and see how this is constructed. So you've got your 3 shapes in here, and you will die cut 1 each of the shapes. Of course, you've always got a card project idea on here from hot off the press. And when I flip this over, you can see the written instructions. Underneath this top flap, you've also got your assembly instructions on here too. It's very, very easy. So let me show you. I've got my pieces all die cut from some high contrast cardstock so that you can see how to put it together. So this is your base piece, and you'll have not only this arched shape, you'll also have the slit that will be cut in there too. So you don't have to try and measure and cut that yourself. Then you've got your 2 side flaps. So you've got one that's a little bit wider than the other one. This is going to go in the middle. So it'll go tucked right inside here. And if I flip that over, you can see how that goes. Then you've got this scored side panel here. This will get kind of popped up and adhered to the back like so. So that will give you your dimension here. Before I glue those down though, what I like to do is get the other side flap on here as well. And this, of course, will get tucked into this slit. And then same thing with the side flap. You'll simply glue those to the back of your background piece, and you'll have your dimensional bendy card. Now, I like to use the red line or the extra sticky tape to glue this down. I find that that holds it a little bit better and a little bit more securely. But that's just how easy it is to create your bendy card shape. So for my card today, I've die cut the base piece from pattern paper. This front flap has also been die cut from pattern paper. And then I've got my center panel in here, which is this gorgeous dark green cardstock. Now the cardstock that I'm using in today's webisode all comes from the Seasonal Splendor cardstock pack. Now if you look at the palette in here, you'll see it's perfect, of course, for seasonal cards or Christmas cards. But the burgundies and the greens were also a really nice match with today's pattern paper and die cuts. So that's what I'm using throughout today's webisode. So I've got this green layer in here, and that's really helping to create some visual space between the two pattern papers. I also inked around all of the edges with the Midas Gold ink pad, again, just to add a little bit of dimension on there. And then my card focal is one of the cutouts from the paper pack, matted onto green cardstock. And I added the camera and the flower chipboard pieces, plus the Art of Photography chipboard piece. Then on this front panel, I have Ascending Smiles Dazzle Message, which is die cut with one of the shapes in the 8 Labels die cutting set. It's just a perfect size match on there. And then the sheer white bow is the finishing touch to a fun and easy bendy card. The chipboard embellishments are taking center stage on this card design, starting with this beautiful hat box image. So this is all one piece. It's quite a substantial element. So from that bottom hat box all the way up to the little birdie on here. This by itself would make a beautiful card focal, and I've decided to add to it by layering some other chipboard pieces here. So underneath I've got this postage element, and then on top I have a flower piece. So 3 layers of chipboard, and I'm using foam tape to kind of boost things up and even it out a little bit so that I don't have it kind of listing off to one side. I've got some beautiful pattern paper here matted onto the burgundy cardstock, and then I've got this fun corner accent piece here. So this is a separate piece of burgundy cardstock, and I created the scalloped edge by die cutting a portion of a scalloped square. So if I'm just taking this and running a portion of this through my die cutting machine, then I can easily create a scalloped corner. Let me put something contrasting underneath here, and this can just go right like so. This is the die that I'm using, and this is from the 10 square and scalloped cutting dies. So it's a great way to create a really fun kind of corner accent on there. And it's also the perfect size for my message, the Sending Smiles. Now I have to show you, I really love this Dazzle set, and they come in gold and silver, and as you can see, I've used the gold quite a lot. So I wanted to show you the silver sheet, which hasn't been quite so picked over. But as you can see, you've got separate words, you've got stacked words, and you've got some of the longer sentiments. And that's what I used on the card previous. But Sending Smiles is a great message to have in your crafting stash because, of course, it works for so many different card giving occasions. Then for my card inside, I have another square. Now, you could sign this or write a message inside. And I've got another chipboard flower and some rub-on accents from the teacup set. So let's have a look at how to apply a rub-on. I'll move aside my card and bring in just a plain piece of white matte cardstock. And I've got one of the rub-ons from the teacup set on here. When I cut this out from the main sheet, I'm keeping the 2 layers together. So I've got my rub-on sheet, and then I've got this liner back here. So I'm going to keep those 2 together until I know exactly where I want to position my image. So I'm just going to pop this down here. I like to kind of hang on to a corner of that plastic piece just so I have something to grab onto. And I'll smooth this down with my finger. So it's stuck on there. It's got some kind of low tack something on there so that it's not going to slide around. But then I'm going to use my bone folder And I'm just going to gently but firmly burnish this in place. And I like to make sure I'm going around all the outside edges really well. And then I can grab onto that little folded up piece and slowly and gently pull this back. And I'm not going to pull the whole thing off in one in one movement, because just in case if there's any portion that doesn't get transferred, I can pop this back in and go back and burnish some more if I need to. But I think we've got it evenly transferred on there. So that's just how easy it is to apply a rub-on. And that's what I've done here on the inside of the card, and then also on this colored cardstock here. So you can put it onto pattern paper, white cardstock, colored cardstock, lots of different options there. Now for this tag, I've got a rub-on as my focal, and this time it's from the Teddy Bears pack. It's also onto a square die cut piece. I've got a scalloped square. This is popped up on foam tape, and then I've layered it onto a straight edge square and placed it as a focal on the tag. Now the word cherish down here is a dazzle. It's from the Tiny Words and Phrases set, and it just fit in there perfectly. Not just the word, but also the size of it too, being a tiny word. And I also have a really tiny little heart sticker from the same set, and I added it to our teddy bear. Now the tag is die cut from pattern paper, and I'm using the tag in a bag die. I'm using just the tag shape for this, although you could also make a coordinating bag to go along, of course. The border here is from the paper pack, and then I have a chipboard piece tied up at the top with some pink ribbon. This card features a cutout from the paper pack as the focal. I love this beautiful faux fabric pattern here in the corner. Then there's a bird down here, and also this beautiful faux stitching going around the outside edge. So I've also added in a couple of chipboard flowers and then combined the focal with this beautiful blue collage pattern paper. I have to say, this pattern paper was my favorite design from the paper pack. I think it's just stunning. You've got this gorgeous kind of grid pattern on here. You've got some script, and you've also got some kind of spattering effect on here too. It's just a really beautiful design. And of course it coordinates beautifully with the other elements in the pack. So color-wise, it just goes perfectly. Then I couldn't resist using some of my favorite cutting dies to go along. So here I have a border from the Luscious Lace set, and I've also got some leaf elements from Frosted Flowers. Now both of these die sets were new to me. They've quickly become staples in my crafting stash. So let me show you the Luscious Lace. You've got the doily shape and you've got this border. So both of them are perfect for lots of different card themes. But this lace border was just especially perfect to go with the sewing and the fabric themed papers. This is what the lace border looks like when you die cut it. Now, because it is fairly intricate, I really suggest using sticky specks, which are micro dots of adhesive, and they will adhere the lace without getting glue everywhere, which is a really nice thing. Keeps everything tidy, and it also secures it really nicely in place. So here I have my lace border just kind of tucked underneath my focal piece, and it adds a nice textured element to the background without sort of taking over the whole rest of the card. Then I have here, here, and here some of the leaves from the Frosted Flowers set. I love these leaves. I've been using them for a lot of projects. So you can see you've got the flowers in here, of course, but these leaves just make a beautiful accent. In fact, I've got them die cut onto white cardstock so you can see them a little bit better. These can be tucked in virtually anywhere, and you can do them underneath a flower cluster, as I've done here, kind of coming up like steam from the chipboard teacup like I have here, and just kind of creating some nice framing around the focal element. It does also help a smaller focal element to seem slightly larger. So it's a great way to create a spotlight onto whatever you would like to put on the front of your card. And of course, I've got a little smile dazzle on here as well. Then for my card inside, I have just a little cutout message plus a rub-on from the Teacups pack. And if you take a look, you'll notice that the bird overlaps just a little bit on that cutout. So you can definitely overlap these rub-ons onto paper and indeed onto one another if you wish. Our final card features a very sweet and very well-loved teddy bear focal. Now for this card, I've started by covering the front with solid cardstock, and then I cut the pattern paper slightly smaller, inked around the outside edges with that Midas Gold ink pad, and then wrapped it with pink ribbon before gluing it to the card front. Now a tip, if your ribbon is thick or bulky, I suggest using foam tape to adhere the two layers so you don't have any bumps. Then on top, I've got my focal. I have a Toyland cutout, which you can see right here. Then I have the bear and the hat boxes, and then a teacup die cut on top. So these are 3 separate elements, as is the bow. So I tied this separately and glued it right on top. But another fun thing about this card is when I open it up, and I've got a pop-up message with some rub-ons on here. Of course, I've also got some pattern paper and some cardstock on the inside of my card, but this surprise has been made with the inside surprise die, and it's super simple to do and a really fun way to add something special to your cards. So let's take a look. This is the die that I'm working with, inside surprise. And you've got 3 shapes in here. So you have the label base, which is, let's see, that's this shape right here. Then you have the label, which is slightly smaller, so that can go right in here. These two are pretty self-explanatory. The element that I want to talk about is the surprise mechanism, which is this piece right here. And that's going to be what gives you the pop-up. Now when I flip this over, as with all hot off the press dies, you'll have your instructions. So you've got some written instructions, you have a project idea, and then you've got your diagram on here, which is really helpful. But let's take a look together and we can see how this comes together so easily. So here's our mechanism. Now you've got some score lines on here, and I really do recommend using your bone folder to score these up. It will make things a lot easier. Trust me on this one. And it will make everything lie down a bit flatter as well. So once you have those scored up, you'll have your mechanism ready to go. Now with dies like this, I always like to do a dummy run so that I can do like a practice card and make sure I've got everything glued down the way it should go. So that's what I've got here. Now the package suggests we come down about 1.5 inches from the top of the card. So that's what I've marked off here. Here's my mechanism. Now what you'll need to do is glue this triangle portion as well as this folded side. So I found that it was easier for me to start with this triangle portion, and I've put my adhesive, extra sticky tape will do the trick, put that on the back here, and then I've aligned this with the fold of the card and along with where it would be about 1.5 inches. And then it's a lot easier to kind of figure out where the rest of this will naturally go so that you can then glue the other portion of this mechanism in place so that it will open and close like so. And I've also got my other half done card here so that you can see how that comes together like so. And then you can add your labels right on top after you get that decorated. So what I've done for my inside card here, again, I've got some of that pattern paper. I've got some of my cardstock. You'll notice I did not go over the fold on the inside of the card, just up along the edge there. And then I've got my rub-ons on here. Now I'm using both of the rub-on sets, so the teacups and the teddy bears together. And that will create my inside surprise. And that is our final card project of the day today. So a big thank you to our friends at Stamperia for these sweet and nostalgic papers and embellishments. As you can see, I had a lot of fun playing with them. And a special thanks to you for joining me here today. We're really glad that you're here and we're happy you're a part of our Paper Wishes family. Do feel free to leave a comment. We love to hear what you think. Each item can be purchased separately and you can see them below. However, we've also bundled them into a creative money saver just for you. For the money saver, see this webisode on paperwishes.com. And if you're watching us on YouTube, have a look in the description box below this video. You'll find a link that will take you to our Paper Wishes webisodes page and you can see everything I just mentioned. If you enjoyed our video today, we'd really appreciate a thumbs up. It helps people to find our channel. And don't forget to subscribe. We create 3 to 5 videos each week, so there's always something fun to inspire your creative spirit.